Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm Graham Hughes. You are watching Morning Brew on Hughes of the World. How you all doing this morning? Got a little confession to make. I don't want to talk about Farage. I'm sick of talking about the bollocked face foghorn of ignorance. So we might bring him up later, bring him up. But yeah, in the meantime, I've got a good news story for you. So we're going to get into that in a moment. But first of all, want to make a big shout out to everyone watching. We've got Lost Missionary in the chat. We've got Diz. We have got Martin Harrow. We've got SG. We've got Sarah Davis. We've got GM Lovely. We have got Graham Haller as well. Fat Spicer, Saz. And others, Person Impersonator. If you'd like to join all our friends in our lovely little chat here, little group, lovely group, no trolls. That's the only rule. Like, don't be a troll. Don't come on there and go, reform, because we will mute you and boot you. So if you're up for joining in, all you need to do is press the subscribe button on your phone or your laptop, your tablet, whatever. Wait for approximately one of your Earth minutes and you'll be able to join in with the fun. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about mangroves. Mangroves? Why are we talking about mangroves? Because it's a good news story. That's why. Mangroves are making a comeback. And this is fantastic news. And obviously, being someone who is someone who's planted mangroves in the past, there was a Guinness World Records set the other day for the most mangroves planted in a day by a single person. I think it was like 17,000 or something crazy. But the mangroves are fighting back. We spend a lot of time talking about environmental disasters, extinctions, climate breakdown, ecosystem collapse. This story is important, I feel, because it demonstrates that something environmental campaigners have been saying for decades. When humans stop destroying nature, nature often recovers remarkably quickly. So the trick here is to stop destroying the planet, something that the Americans don't want to do. Obviously, they've paid $1 billion to a French company to not make wind turbines. And Trump has just announced wartime powers, get this, wartime powers to reopen fucking coal mines in America. I mean, what? Like, who's gonna go down? I mean, I guess they're gonna be open cast, because I couldn't imagine any American wanting to go and dig in a mine. The only reason why people did it round here is because the mine owners made a false sense of pride and community built around the mines. That's what all the brass bands were all about. It was the idea that, oh, my granddad worked down mine, my dad worked down the mine, I'm worked down, my kids are going to work down the mine, we all work down the mine. Working down the mine is a fucking shit job. It is a fucking awful job, and I don't want any human being to have to do it. And the thing is, right now, no human being has to do it. Okay? I get all of the honor from back in the day, because back in the day, you had the choice. You could go to war. Well, you didn't even get a choice in the matter. You either went to war or you dug for coal. They were your two choices. But I keep saying choices. They weren't even a choice. It was just like, right, this is it. You're signing up to join the army. Now, actually, you're going to dig for coal. And there's a lot of people who would rather have fucking been in the army, to be honest with you, and landed on the beaches in D-Day rather than dig for fucking coal. Because digging for coal is one of the most horrific things you can make a human being do. Like, you think about all the horrible things, like torturous things that people do to someone who's done something wrong, or believed to be done something wrong. All of those things, pretty much, all those torturous things, being deprived of oxygen, being dunked underwater, being gassed, like with toxic gases, having your bones crushed by a cave-in, being left in the dark for hours and hours in a day. All that's down a coal mine. All of it. It's fucking awful. And the thing is, right, back in the day, okay, make the argument and say, oh, we needed the coal for the Industrial Revolution. Can't make that argument now. There's no economic argument for coal. The reason we stopped using coal was not because we feel it's immoral. We stopped using coal because it wasn't profitable. In the 80s, a lot of the coal mines closed down because they weren't profitable. We have split seam mines here in the UK, for instance, which means that you've got a seam of coal, right? So imagine like a horizontal seam of coal, right? But the mountains that you're digging in, or the hills now, because they've been eroded over the millions of years, they shift, okay? So you have a split seam. So there's a bit of the seam here, and then you've got, 50 foot, and then you've got the rest of the seam down there, right? It's very basically what it is. And it makes extracting the coal incredibly difficult compared with somewhere that doesn't have that same problem, like places in Argentina or places in Australia. And that's why in the 80s it wasn't profitable to dig for coal. And Thatcher wanted an excuse to destroy the union. So, two birds with one stone as far as she was concerned. But now, I mean, there's even less of a reason for anywhere to be producing coal because solar and wind generation is cheaper. There's no economic reason for digging for coal at all. And the only way it'll get through in America is if the government keeps subsidizing it through people's taxes. And I can't see Americans going down there. I think it's going to be people coming from other countries, which they don't want. They don't want people coming from other countries. So I really don't know how they're going to square this circle, to be honest with you. But let's get back to the mangroves, right? The recovery of the mangrove forests is not some minor environmental curiosity. These are the most valuable ecosystems. These are among the most valuable ecosystems on the planet. They protect coastlines, they support fisheries, they support quantities, they store, they support local communities and keep them safe, but also they store enormous quantities of carbon, as well as providing livelihoods for those communities as well. And there's been a study that's just come out, there's a report about it on the BBC website, suggesting that globally mangrove gains have exceeded mangrove losses since around 2010. Now, in my lifetime, we have had a huge deforestation of mangroves to the size of the entirety of Jamaica has gone, right? But now, since 2010, it's bouncing back. Mangroves, for those of you who don't know, salt-tolerant trees. They grow in tropical and subtropical coastlines. They thrive in muddy, brackish water where the rivers meet the sea. So Bocas del Toro in Panama, where my island is just absolutely fucking fantastic for mangroves. Shitloads of rain, loads of rivers. There's about 15 rivers that filter down into the Bocas del Toro. The distinct root system often makes them, they appear to stand above the water. They're found in Southeast Asia, East Africa, West Africa, the Caribbean, Central America, South America, Northern Australia, and the Pacific Islands. There are extensive mangroves in Indonesia, Brazil, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Nigeria, and Mexico. Now, I've been lucky enough to travel through the mangroves on the border between Nigeria and Cameroon. I've seen the mangroves up in Darwin in Australia, in the north of Australia. I've been to mangrove forests pretty much all over the world, and obviously my island is in a mangrove forest, completely surrounded by mangroves, which are protected by the government, which I'll come to in a moment. But mangroves are environmental superheroes. I know I'm kind of getting dead excited about fucking trees here, but just stay with me. Mangroves are amongst the most efficient carbon sinks on Earth. They store up to 5 times more carbon per hectare than many territorial forests. Much of that carbon is stored in the roots, underground. The muddy soils beneath the mangroves accumulate carbon for centuries, and scientists refer to this as blue carbon. This is carbon that is captured and stored by coastal ecosystems. And unlike many land forests, much of the carbon remains trapped beneath waterlogged sediments, where decomposition occurs slowly. And also, I mentioned earlier, mangroves act as giant, they protect people who live on the coast because they act as giant natural breakwaters. Their roots absorb wave energy, which is fantastic. And it's one of the reasons why the water around my island is just so unbelievably calm. It's not just my island that's got mangroves, it's all the islands around it. I have got 2 barriers, if you like, between my island and the Caribbean Sea proper. And on the shoreline of Bastamentos Island, this big boomerang-shaped island, which sort of cradles the rest of the lagoons inside and the islands inside, which include mine. The windward side, if you like, the side that is on the ocean, has got all this sand. It's got sandy beaches, but then the islands inside of that, because they've not had these waves crashing up for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Behind that, it's all mangroves. There's another island called Solarte, which is shaped like a cigar, within the boomerang, and then behind that is a lagoon, Bocas del Toro Lagoon, and then my island is on the other side of that lagoon. Like, you look out from my place, the nearest islands, if you look straight out from my boat dock, it's a good few miles away. I mean, it's about 5 miles away, right? And you'd expect some waves to accumulate over that, if it was a lake or something like that, but it doesn't. We rarely get anything like the crashing waves that you get on the sea, but also some of the waves that you get on some of the big lakes out there, like Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, and things like that. They can get, when there's a storm, those waves can get pretty gnarly. But where we are, it gets dissipated by these mangroves roots that absorb the energy and reduce storm surges. They slow coastal erosion, they trap sediment, they help stabilize shorelines to stop getting eaten away. One of the big problems we've got in the UK at the moment is we don't have any fucking mangroves. What we do have is chalk cliffs and sandstone cliffs, which erode like motherfuckers. And that's why we're seeing so many houses falling into the sea, because the sea is just, it's a couple of meters a year at this rate, just eating away at our coastline. And during major storms, villages protected by mangroves often experience substantially less damage than exposed coastlines. Think about a house that's behind mangroves and then a house that's on the beach, and see how they fare in a tropical storm. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much. £5 super chat. But the thing we had never done is find new work for the former mining communities. We still owe them that. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Paula, living in a place here in Durham where there's no cafe, there's no pub really. There's no, the local shop is horrible. Like, we don't have a co-op, we don't even have a spa here. If I want to go and have a cup of coffee from a cafe, I've got to get in my car and drive. I've got to drive, and this is an old pit village that I live in Durham. And like, this breaks my heart. It really does, that these communities, I see why people feel left behind. And Durham is an interesting place because there's a lot of very, 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 very rich people who live here. Like, the Cummings Brew, the Cummings family, right? Because they live just off the A167, a couple of miles from here. And they've got a massive, estate, which is really close to the city centre. And their kid, Dominic Cummings, went to the really prestigious private school here in Durham School for Boys. And they live a very different life. So you'll be going down the streets here and you'll see someone from one of the old pit villages going past on literally a horse and cart. I'm not kidding, like a horse with a little buggy behind it, right? And then behind that is a Porsche or a Ferrari or the top of the range Land Rover. And you're just like, the gulf between the haves here in Durham and the have-nots is mind-blowing. And it goes some way to explain the flag fucking that went on last year with putting the flags up on the lamppost, because people here feel frustrated because they do feel left behind. And I can see why. But perversely, them putting those bloody flags up has made me and Kat not want to live here anymore. So, I don't think they're doing themselves any favours by doing that. But yeah, we do need investments in these areas. We do need to not just bring back pride for people who worked down the mines back in the day, but also for people who live here now. Give them jobs, give them skills, give them a sense of community, which I think has been lost thanks to Thatcher. SG, thank you very much for the super chat. How up to date is this in Mumbai? They're destroying mangroves up and down the coast on a vast scale, and I'm sure the Modi government not providing true data. Sorry, I know Good News Day, but reality sucks. No, this is overall. So this is net. There's been a net gain of mangroves, and yes, there is still mangroves being taken away, but the amount of mangroves that we're getting, so it's a net gain of mangroves. So I'm not saying it's happening everywhere. Yes, of course, Mumbai in particular, where they've done away with all of the old fishing communities and the mangroves that used to sustain them. There's been a lot of land reclamation in Mumbai, and there's been a lot of these big concrete bastards, tetrahedrons or whatever the fuck they're called, which are these big blocks of concrete that are dropped into the water. They sort of interlock and create an artificial coastline. And yeah, there's a lot of recovered land in in Mumbai. But at the same time, go down to Kerala, down to the backwaters of Kerala. Yeah, there's a lot more mangroves down there. So yeah, I get what you're saying, like the deforestation in big cities, but it's gonna mean that when storms get worse, which they are gonna do when the monsoon rains come or don't come, um, in Mumbai, you're going to see more. You're going to see more devastation. It's just like we're seeing in Florida. Now they got rid of so much mangrove forest in Florida, and now they're wondering why the sea is eating the land. Well, I'll tell you why the sea's eating the land, mate, because you took the mangroves away, and those concrete tetrapods. They're called tetrapods, are they? Those concrete I'm going to call them tetrapods. I don't care what they're really called. Those concrete tetrapods are not storing carbon. In fact, it takes a lot of carbon to make concrete. It's one of the other reasons why I don't like concrete as a building material. But yeah, it looks like shit. But yes, I can think also in Panama City, all along the coast there would have been mangroves, and that's been replaced with tetrapods. Someone's going to tell me what they're actually called now. And Mr. Tiss says, still hate Thatcher. Yes, absolutely. Oh, we should set a goal. We haven't set a goal. Should set a goal when we're doing a happy one, shouldn't we? I don't want to just get money for slagging off Farage. We'll do confetti first, and if we manage to succeed in our confetti throwing, in our loading of the confetti, the successful loading and firing of the confetti cannon, I might do a Boba Fetty. So yeah, in 2009, we had the Boxing Day tsunami, the Indian Ocean tsunami, and I think that became a turning point in public understanding. It was a 9.1 magnitude earthquake, one of the biggest that humanity has ever bloody witnessed. It caused 230,000 deaths across multiple countries: Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and in some locations, communities behind intact mangrove forests experienced significantly reduced impacts, and areas where mangroves have been removed suffered a much greater level of destruction. And I think that this event fundamentally changed attitudes. Well, I don't think, we know that it did change attitudes in Indonesia and elsewhere about the necessity of mangroves. Mangroves roots create ideal nurseries for fish. Young fish can hide from predators in the roots because the big predators can't get through the roots. Shellfish thrive on the roots. You get mussels and things like that, clams, growing on the roots. Many commercially important fish species spend part of their life cycles in mangrove ecosystems. So healthy mangroves often support healthy fishing industries, because you're catching the big fish, right? The big fish need to eat something. So the big fish they've got nothing to eat, no smaller things to eat, or they can't even grow into a full size fish before they're eaten themselves, because they're out in the water. There's no place to shelter from those big predators. What we find time and time again is destroying mangroves frequently damages food security in areas that rely on fishing. Now, 20th century, I mean, just the horrible things of the 20th century: the war, the Holocaust, the two wars, sorry, the advent of concrete, the advent of the coming again, the second coming of concrete, from like 2,000 years earlier, came back with a vengeance. Except it wasn't as good as the Roman concrete, because our concrete just flakes and falls apart because it's so badly made. The age of concrete. Asbestos, that was great. We decided to make everything, put asbestos in everything. We had asbestos. The snow in the movie The Wizard of Oz was made of asbestos. They had asbestos in that what's it called, the horrible stuff, Artex that used to put on ceilings, that had this stuff in it that if it gets into your lungs, it never leaves. They built entire houses out of it. Just that they built towns out of asbestos. and it was in baby powder and everything. And Trump has just wound back environmental protections to stop them putting um, asbestos in products. Well, they don't put it; it's used like a byproduct now. That they wherever they're mining the talc, it gets some asbestos in it. But yeah, they were trying to make it so there can be no asbestos in the baby powder. But Trump's dialed that back, so obviously the babies can breathe in a little bit of asbestos, which will remain in their lungs for all of their lives until the moment they die, maybe of asbestosis. Also in the 20th century, we started fucking oil like no one had ever imagined. We took away public transport in a lot of places. That was there at the beginning of the century. It wasn't there at the end of the century. We took it away because everyone needed a car. We needed to all fuck our cars. And everyone went to sleep cuddling their cars and pumping them full of really, really toxic petrol, which used to be even more toxic because it used to have fucking lead in it. Lead in the paint, lead in the petrol, lead in the water, because our pipes were made of lead. Brilliant. Let's put lead. And they knew lead was bad for you, but they just put it in things because a bit of lead, that'll be all right, won't it? Lead doesn't dissolve from your body. Lead stays in your body. A lot of boomers now have got a lot of lead in their brains, which kind of explains a lot. Not all boomers have got a lot of lead in their brain, but, enough. But yeah, and also the environment was just absolutely cleared in the 1900s. The late 20th century was mangroves were widely viewed as pointless wasteland, smelly swamps that we didn't need. Governments and development saw them as obstacles to economic development. They were cleared to create shrimp farms, fish farms, coastal housing, tourist developments, tourist hotels, ports, industrial projects, agriculture. And from the 1980s to 2010, more than 12,000 square kilometers of mangroves were cleared, disappeared. One of the biggest drivers of destruction was industrial shrimp farming. Another reason to hate Forrest Gump, because not only did he popularize the idea that being stupid is noble, he also shrimp farmed, which is very, very bad for coastal forests, which are bulldozed. Artificial ponds were created to farm shrimp, or prawns as we call them in the UK, and the exports generated profits, and the long-term environmental damage was ignored. And many abandoned shrimp farms later became ecological wastelands. Once the industry moved elsewhere, the communities were left with degraded land, reduced fish stocks, so the fish didn't have anything to eat, and were much more vulnerable to tropical storms and freak waves, tsunamis, etc. So more recently, people began understanding what mangroves actually do. Scientists, again, like the most important people on this planet are scientists, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I love me poetry. Don't get me wrong. Love you, Ernie. And I love me purple prose. And I love artwork, and I love films, and I love singing and music and gigs and dance and costume design and all this kind of. It's all cool. It's all cool. Yeah, but scientists are the ones who go, we need to keep this. We need to look after this, and they can prove why we need to do it. And a lot of us would not be alive right now today if it hadn't been for science. If you've ever, half of us would have died before the age of 5, if we were born 200 years ago. And then the ones of us who survived, if we got appendicitis, that'd be it, we'd be dead. If we got a cut that was a bit too deep, got sepsis, that's it, dead. No coming back from that. No dentist, no dental, no toothpaste. So, people died of their teeth. Yeah, great days. Make Britain great again. Let's go back to those days where people died of their teeth. But yeah, and the reason why we've come on in such leaps and bounds, why we don't all die of smallpox anymore, is because of fucking science. Science can say, look, we need to do this, and we should fucking listen. And we need to stop monkeying about and go, no, I'm smarter than all these scientists. I know more than these people who have investigated this stuff all their lives, dedicated their entire lives to actually doing research in laboratories and field trips and reading books. Because I saw a video on YouTube, and that proved everything. There's nothing more lazy than a human who can't be arsed thinking for themselves. Just I saw a video on YouTube. It must be true. I mean, how can someone just make a video on YouTube? How can someone just set up a camera and just talk to the camera and just say things? I mean, come on, they must be a genius. But yeah, the public awareness in the last 20 odd years has really grown as scientists have increasingly quantified the value of mangroves. Governments have started taking them seriously, conservation groups have pushed for protection, and communities have recognized their importance. So, for instance, in Costa Rica and in Panama, mangroves are protected by law. Like I had the environmental police came round to my place one time when I was there and said, "Hey up, why have you cut down the not cut down the mangroves, but cut down these intermediate branches of the mangroves?" And I'd say that wasn't me. That was done before I bought the place, before I acquired the place. And I had to prove using historic photographs that that was done before I took over the place. Otherwise, I would have been saddled with a massive fine for taking intermediate branches away from a handful of trees, like 5 trees, on my island. And like, I wouldn't have done that. I don't cut the mangroves that surround the island at all. I mean, the only times that we've actually gone out and actually done something about the mangroves in that way is because they've been struck by lightning and or they're killing other trees, which is something that mangroves like to do. We've got 3 different species of mangroves on the island, and there's one that just does not play very well with its neighbours. And if it's got a tree near it, it will kill it. It will just be like, right, you're dead, and it'll drop leaves on it. It will strangle it. The leaves will go through some chemical process that creates sulfuric acid. And yeah, there's a certain mangrove, and you'll see on the island, there'll be the mangrove, and certain mangroves, the grass will grow right up to the trunk of the tree, right? But then there's others, and where it's like someone's put up an umbrella, and directly under this massive parasol, it's just dirt. It's just dirt because there's nothing can grow underneath it. Not even, coconut. Sorry, not coconut. Palm trees, not even palm trees, which you'd expect because palm trees are pretty bloody hardy. But when it comes to a palm tree versus a mangrove's going to kick its ass. Sorry, they're just they're the bad bitches of the tree world. So yeah, sometimes we've had to do a little bit of maintenance on the mangroves, but generally speaking, don't cut them down. Don't chop them, and try and encourage them as much as possible around the exterior of the island. And Also nearby on Bocas Town, there's a little submerged island that went underwater a few years before I got there. It's just to the north of the island, and there's a fabulous picture of 3 of my friends who were staying on the island at the time, standing at low tide on this island. It looks like they're standing in, like walking on water, like Jesus or something, but in bikinis. So they're like this, standing in this water. And I was talking to the locals, and they were like, "Yeah, there used to be an island there. There was a football pitch on the island, but we had a big storm come in, and the whole island just got flooded, and it's never come back." Now, more recently, in the last couple of years, you're seeing mangroves. There's a load of mangroves that have started to grow under the water, and you can see them obviously coming up above the water. And eventually, in the next 10, 20 years, that island will return thanks to the mangroves that are growing on it. And that's another thing where the mangroves are just miracle workers, not only for the reasons that I've said about storing carbon, but also fish nurseries and stuff. But they also create land. They create land. It's a phenomenal thing that they are able to do, and that there have been these lessons from disasters. I mentioned the 2004 tsunami, but also there was the cyclone Nargis, which struck Myanmar or Burma in 2008, and approximately 138,000 people died or disappeared. The storm devastated the Irrawaddy Delta, but it highlighted the vulnerability created by environmental degradation, and public attitudes towards the mangrove protection shifted. And it's not just the waves as well. If you're in a tropical storm, which has happened when I've been on the island, the trees manage to, I don't know, create a bit of a buffer against the wind, which is I suppose, yeah, because why would they not do that? It's got, because all the branches and everything like that, and therefore they create these wonderful shelters. And also, just from a selfish point of view, it gives my island a lot of seclusion. Like, you can't see what I'm up to from the water. Someone could go past in a little kayuku, a little dugout canoe, or in the speedboat if they're a yank, and I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. They can't see what I'm up to. Oh God, Trump's on the telly. I'll just move over here so we don't have to see him. God. In Burma, in Myanmar, there was a logging ban, a national logging ban introduced in about 10 years ago, and that reduced pressure on forests, and it allowed regeneration in many areas, and demonstrated how policy decisions can produce environmental impacts. And the logging restrictions have been really important. Environmental enforcement has improved massively, and the fact that in Costa Rica and Panama, one of the really good things that both of those countries do is they make it illegal to, well, not illegal. There is no way of owning the shore. Okay, so you've got like a 10-meter line from the shoreline to any line that you can actually own. So I only own the interior of my island. It's marked out on a charts, on surveys. So there's been several surveys done of the island, and I just own the stuff in the middle of it. The stuff outside of that, the mangroves that fringe the island, that's not mine. I don't own those mangroves. They're owned by the government. And what this does is it creates, first of all, people, the mangroves are protected by the government, but also it stops resorts from chopping all the mangroves down and taking over a bit of shoreline, right? And what's happened in a lot of other Caribbean coastal areas and islands is that these big resorts have come in and bought a section of the beach like that and said, right, this is our beach now, fuck off. And so the locals can't use that beach. And I've been places where the only places that the locals can use are black sand beaches. They're the only ones still open to the public. All the nice white sand beaches or brown sand beaches, they've all been taken over by these massive chains. These what they call these hotel chains and stuff, which is really bad for the environment and really bad for the local people who have to live there all year round. You're stopping them from getting to the beach. I think that's disgraceful. The shoreline should be for the people. It shouldn't be able to be sectioned off. Other countries do similar rules, but I think a lot of the Caribbean has been damaged by the fact that there was no protection for the coastal areas, and especially if you're an island and you're completely surrounded by coast. And it was also white people could go on holiday and sit on their white sand beach and not have to see any black faces, not have to see any black people sunbathing next to them. So yeah, and look, one of the most encouraging parts of this study, this finding, is that humans didn't necessarily have to plant these trees. In many places, mangroves simply came back naturally. I think on the sunken island off Bocas del Toro town, I think they came back naturally. I don't think anyone went over there and purposely planted them. And I know from personal experience, like the mangroves on my island, they will grow, they will spread like wildfire, given the chance. Once logging stopped in areas that were being logged, the forest regenerated on their own. Seeds spread through tidal systems, and the seeds for mangroves are I don't know if they're seeds, but basically they look like a shoot. They look like a green shoot. Like, imagine like a big bean, like a big like string beans, like a big string bean. That's what string bean. That's what it looks like, kind of. And they float on the water, you see, and they're brought in on the water, and then they manage to find somewhere they like, and they start to grow, and they can survive on the water for a long time, even if it's salty water. Same with coconuts. Did you know the only place where palm trees, the only place in the tropics and in the Pacific Ocean where palm trees didn't grow naturally, didn't get there naturally, is Hawaii, because it's too far away. It's too far away from anywhere else that had palm trees in the Pacific, because the coconuts can only last 6 weeks in the water, and because of the tidal currents, whatever, just not a single coconut made it to Hawaii until humans put them on a ship and took them over there and then planted them. But yeah, nature hadn't got quite to that yet. I'm sure, left to its own devices for thousands of years, a random coconut would have managed to make it all the way to Hawaii and take root. But as things stand, the only coconuts that exist on Hawaii were put there by humans. SG, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Later, maybe you can talk about the new Epstein Island / doomsday bunker that Ivanka Trump is creating in Albania. Bet there are some flora, fauna destroyed there, covered in gold foil. Yeah, SG, thanks so much for the super chat. I mean, the doomsday bunker shit. I mean, what the fuck do they think is going to happen? Like, do they think the people who built them are going to go, yeah, all right? Do they think that, what are they going to pay the security? The security that they're going to have? Because everyone's going to be like, oh, it's doomsday. Okay, well, we go in that doomsday bunker that billionaire owns. Who's going to stop us? Well, what are they going to pay the security with if the monetary systems of the world have crumbled? The internet's no more. That Starlink satellites are falling from the sky. Cryptocurrency? Is that what you got to pay them in? Cryptocurrency? Okay, good luck with that. And traceable bearer bonds. Anyway, yeah. So sometimes environmental recovery isn't about complicated technological solutions. That's why I get a bit antsy about the whole carbon storage bullshit. I just think it's daft. Just stop making the carbon in the first place. Then you don't have to find anywhere to store it, for Christ's sake. It's like, I keep shitting all over my house and I spend all this money cleaning it up. Well, maybe just stop shitting all over your house. And then you might have to clean it up. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, there's sometimes all we need to do to help these coastal environments, different ecosystems around the world bounce back is just to fucking stop destroying them, stop doing things that destroy them. The Niger Delta is particularly in Nigeria is a particularly hard hit. That was a huge mangrove ecosystem for millennia, and then the oil companies came along and fucking destroyed it. You can see the lines. If you look on Google Maps, you can see the lines of where the pipelines go through the mangroves. And there's so many leaks, and that destroys the ability for fish to give birth and to give birth, lay their eggs. Don't give birth. Fish to lay their eggs, and for young fish to be able to thrive. And it's why the coastal communities, places like Port Harcourt in Nigeria, are suffering so much because of all this pollution that has been created by firms owned by white people that go over there and steal their resources and fuck their ecosystem at the same time. So we can have oil to go in our cars. Great system. But yeah, like I say, young trees, young mangroves have been able to support themselves naturally. Like I say, seeds spread through tidal systems. And if we let these ecosystems recover, they will. We stop cutting them down. We reduce the pollution. Stop fucking pumping oil and letting it leak all over the Niger Delta. Nature often does the rest, And the major success story in this report is in Indonesia, because Indonesia contains more mangrove forest than any other country on the planet. It's the global heavyweight of mangrove conservation. And stabilization in Indonesia alone has enormous global significance. Like I said earlier, the tsunami awareness changed attitudes, increased support for conservation. Coastal communities increasingly recognize the protective value of the forests, and fish farm expansion slowed, regeneration projects expanded, and legal protections for the mangroves and for coastal communities was strengthened. And the previous studies have underestimated the recovery of the mangroves, and the new analysis that is in this report, using Landsat satellite imagery, has detected younger forests, and researchers are finding many new mangrove areas that earlier surveys missed. And the some positive environmental changes here are happening faster than we had previously expected or realized, and better technology is allowing us to check that out. And the bad news here is that, like was pointed out by SG earlier, this is not a universal success story. Recovery is uneven. Some regions are still suffering severe losses. There's ongoing devastation in West and Central Africa, where there's still significant mangrove losses are continuing. Also, conservation efforts remain inconsistent, and economic pressures remain very, very intense for these places that have been fucked over by Europeans and by Americans and by the Soviets and by the Russians, whoever's in charge right now, for decades, centuries. Talking about the Niger Delta, the pipelines are contaminating not just the water but also the soil. The oil coats the roots of the mangroves die, and the fish populations decline, and local communities lose their livelihoods. It's why there's so much tension in Port Harcourt. It's a dangerous place to visit, especially if you're an oil exec. Maybe that's what we should do. Just send all the oil execs to Port Harcourt for the day. Tell them to go get a sandwich. And also, climate change obviously remains a threat. We're going to see stronger storms, and tropical cyclones continue to destroy mangrove forests. An individual storm can wipe out huge areas. And although mangroves are incredibly hardy, there are certain storms for which nothing could possibly survive. And Australia in particular has suffered significant losses of the mangrove ecosystems up in the north of the country, around Darwin, and in the north of Queensland, through cyclones. Caribbean islands have suffered similar damage. And also, on top of that, so we've got more powerful storms because of climate change, but the other thing is sea level rise, which is representing a long-term challenge, because mangroves often adapt by moving inland. So as things go under the water, there's a certain depth that they can't really survive in, and if it gets too deep too quickly, then they're screwed, right? And so they adapt by moving inland, like Ents. But coastal developments, if you've built a bloody road made of concrete along the coast, that blocks that movement, and if forests can't migrate, they eventually get squeezed out. And more mangroves doesn't mean everything is fine, and the mangrove expansion has been helped in some places by increased nutrient flows, and these nutrient flows are being caused by deforestation, soil erosion, mining activity, agricultural runoff upstream. So environmental degradation up the rivers is good news for the mangroves, but bad news for the communities living up those rivers. So a really prosperous growing mangrove forest can sometimes be a symptom of problems further up the river. So obviously we can't rely on this as a single indicator that everything is going to be amazing, but there is evidence now that we're not just getting more mangroves; the existing forests are becoming healthier, and closed canopy mangroves have increased by 20% since the 1980s. And although all of the deforestation that I talked about earlier, the size of Jamaica, hasn't come back, a lot of it has. This is great. Like I say, dense forests, the mangroves store carbon anyway, but dense forests store more carbon. They provide wildlife habitat. They provide stronger storm protection, and quality of the mangroves matter just as much as quantity. We have very healthy mangroves, a small amount of very healthy mangroves is usually a better thing than having an entire, coastline of ill, dying shit, falling apart mangroves because of all the crap in the water or because of other environmental issues that they're having to face. But it does show, just I hate environmental nihilism. I hate when people go, "Oh, it's pointless. We're all going to die anyway. What's the point? What's the point?" This shows that conservation works. This shows that if you have laws put in place to protect coastal areas, the mangroves can bounce back. Humans cause this problem. Humans can help reverse it. And it's all down to governments taking a stand, but also, public awareness. People do change their attitudes after witnessing disasters, but it shouldn't take that, should it? It shouldn't take the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people to go, oh shit, hang on, maybe we shouldn't be knocking these trees down. But also it shows that the unintended consequences of cutting down the trees. But yeah, mangrove forests protect not just the sea, not just the land or the coastal areas. They protect humans. They protect millions of humans around the world and absorb vast quantities of carbon, which we need them to do. If we're going to have any hope for the world not to go up to 4.5 degrees Celsius on average in the next 74 years. And although serious threats remain in places like the Niger Delta and in West Africa, and obviously along the coast there in India, places like Mumbai, this is one of the most encouraging environmental stories for quite a while. The conservation is not just slowing the decline. In some places, actually reversing it. And sometimes the best thing humans can do is just fucking stop. Just stop building shite everywhere. Just stop this industry and agriculture stuff that is destroying the planet. Do it in ways that don't put toxic chemicals. I'm not saying stop agriculture. I'm saying stop doing it in a way. These fucking mega farms that these chemicals get washed into the rivers. Stop mining for stuff that we do not need. We do not need coal anymore. We don't need it. It's fine. We've got something else. We've got something better. But yeah, we should want to care for our planet because it's fucking beautiful, says Jimmy. Yes, Jimmy Anderson, bowling genius. Couldn't agree more. Love how beavers are helping our environment. Lovely little creatures. Yeah, they are. They are. Sometimes environmental recovery involves reintroducing certain wildlife. Yeah. Do you know what? I think we need to have a serious discussion about reintroducing wolves into this country. Anyone want to have a chat about that? Reintroducing wolves into this country? I think we should do it. I think we should. Okay, so we're going to go over to the papers now. Okay. Just heard back from Phil. He won't be able to do episodes of the agenda today. So I'll do some writing. I'll do Graham Hughes right some wrongs. Yeah. But before we go on to the papers, I want to share something that was on News Thump today. Another bit of good news. So this was was a message sent to News Thump by somebody. Hi, I've been a reader of yours and a Farriss supporter for a few years now. You can see my profile here, so I'm not making this up. I'm not one of the frothing simpletons you've mocked so often. Nor am I one of the morons you claim he heard. You've mocked positions I've taken in the past, incorrectly, I would argue. But you've also mocked those that I believe deserve it, which is fair enough. However, I'm done with Farage as of today. This was Wednesday. Your posts aren't responsible. Don't flatter yourself. As there have been question marks for me for a while now, but his actions over the last 48 hours, specifically in ignoring the requests of that poor boy's family not to politicise his murder, have left me disgusted. I would expect nothing more from the likes of Tommy Robinson, but I generally thought Nigel was better than that. Sure, I know he's an opportunist, which I don't mind at all. But I thought he was ultimately someone who would do the right thing when pushed, but I was wrong. This was an opportunity for him to take a genuinely statesman-like position, but he merely proved that he is wholly unsuitable for any position of power in this country. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way. Anyway, thanks for reading. Thought I'd just share that with you. Again, bit of good news. 1 down, 10 million to go. Keep going. We can do this. We can do it together. Come on. It'll be fun. Yeah, I think Nigel Farage, with the money he's been given by the fucknuts in around the world, especially Christopher Harbour, the money launderer for the Russian regime, the Russian tyrannical, imperialistic, expansionist, Nazi regime of Russia, the one that kills anyone who speaks out against it and wants to destroy entire communities and destroy entire countries, wipe them off the map. He wants to destroy Ukraine. He wants Ukraine to just be part of Greater Russia, because Russia's only the biggest country in the world. It needs the space. But yeah, so there's a bit of good news for you there. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to go over to the papers now. I hope. Oh, do you know what? This is going to mess up. So you're going to have to give me a second, because for some stupid reason, my oh, hang on. I'm like, I'll go over to the papers, and I thought, do you know what I'll do? I'll set it up first on the preview, and then everyone will be like, yay, that's the right thing that you were supposed to be looking at, instead of, no, Graham, you messed that up. But I messed it up. Sorry. Apologies. What are people saying? I think a lot of people will be disgusted by his response. Yeah. The way nature bounced back around Chernobyl once humans ran away is impressive. Yeah. They have black frogs. Do you hear about this? Around Pripyat and Chernobyl, in the exclusion zone, the frogs have turned black because melanin protects against radiation from I'm not going to go into the whole radiation thing again, because I can't be dealing with everyone going, no, Graham, it's not technically correct. But basically, because the frogs without much melanin were dying, right, of radiation, because the radiation was giving them cancer, they evolved very, very quickly over 40 years to now be all black. So they're given a large measure of protection from the radiation that's coming from the Chernobyl plant, or that's in the soil now and in the plants and things, and in the trees. It gives them a good level of protection against it, because they've got loads of melanin now, even though it's a completely different type of radiation from the sun, which if you've got a good amount of melanin, that acts as a natural sunblock to the radiation coming from the sun. But it's a different type of radiation. It's very important that you know that. Anyway, Miss Paula Thomas, how you doing? £5 super chat. Talking of letters to look out for Zelensky's open letter to Putin. It's a doozy. Okay, I'm interested now. I'm interested. Zelensky's letter to Putin. You can stop your war. Oh, okay, all right. Let's do it. Let's read this. Let's read this funky gibbon. Hang on a sec. We'll read it together. Come on, it'll be fun. So let's read the letter. This is for Miss Paula Thomas. Thank you very much, Miss Paula Thomas. You're a legend. Vladimir Zelensky, in an open letter to Vladimir Putin, has called for a face-to-face meeting with the Russian president to end this war against Ukraine. Here we go. 4th of June, 2026, 21:20. Open letter to the President of the Russian Federation from the President of Ukraine. When you came to power in Russia more than 26 years ago, many people in Ukraine viewed you positively. That's how it was. But that is now in the past. Now the overwhelming... Oh, hello. Oh, thank you. Needed that. See you later. Bye. I've just been handed a cup of water, which is good, because I was getting a bit croaky. With all the, the yakking. The yakking. Now, the overwhelming majority of Ukrainians view it positively that our long-range drones paid a visit to the opening of your forum in St. Petersburg, covering a distance of more than 1,000 kilometers. As you know very well, That distance is not the limit of our capabilities. For 26 years, your time in power has completely changed the agenda of relations between Ukraine and Russia. From discussions about trade and other civilian matters, our nations have moved to talking almost exclusively about strikes and losses. You have spent nearly half of your 26 years in power in Russia waging war against Ukraine. Whatever you may say about NATO, geopolitics, the Russian language, this war is your personal choice. A war without a real cause. That is how history will remember it. Those years could have been very different. We often hear that you are comfortable with this war. Of course, not in those cases when it comes to security of your residence in Valdai or your parade in Moscow. Your own life is valuable to you. But now we can all see that Russians are finally becoming less comfortable with this reality. The fact that the war is bringing more and more negative consequences to Russia. They do not like our drones and missiles. They do not like gasoline shortages and constantly rising prices. They do not like constant restrictions. They do not like your intention to launch a second wave of mobilization in order to expand the war in another direction in Ukraine or to use it against other countries neighboring Russia. They do not like the fact there is no end in sight to your war. Yes, you can still force Russians to exist this way, but your resources are shrinking significantly. You will not have enough money or political capital to keep buying the loyalty of Russians the way you have for the last 26 years. And everything we will do everything we can to ensure that the world helps bring that moment closer. As you said, as you yourself like to say, we need to run the numbers. Yesterday, I received a report on the losses of your army on the front in Ukraine during May. Once again, the number exceeded 30,000 Russian soldiers killed or seriously wounded. We have been maintaining that level month after month, and we have video confirmation of every one of your losses. These are not empty claims. We know that 63% of your battlefield losses are killed, while only 37% are wounded. In the 21st century, no army can afford such a ratio, and the share of those killed will continue to grow. It's not as if we in Ukraine are concerned about the fate of Russian soldiers after everything your war has brought upon our country, but I do care about Ukrainians. We are losing our people, and every loss is painful to us. Even when the ratio of Ukrainian losses to Russian losses is 1-5 or 1-6, it still matters greatly. It also matters that you regularly postpone every few months your own deadlines for capturing our regions, especially the Donetsk region, and you will not capture it this year either. But we in Ukraine do not want a permanent war. We know very well that life without war is infinitely better, and we would want to achieve that. I am convinced that a majority of Russians would respond positively to this as well, and you know it. Many did not believe that Ukraine would be able to hold out for so long. You did not believe it, and those who advised you did not believe it either. That was a mistake. You did not expect a full-scale resistance from Ukraine, and you did not foresee that things would go this far, and yet here we are in the 5th year of this full-scale war. Do not be afraid to take this path out of war. That's the main thing that is required of you now. Ukraine has preserved its independence and will preserve it, despite all the predictions to the contrary. We have united many around the world to stand with Ukraine against you. We have found the weapons and the financing we need. We receive support, you receive sanctions, and this will continue until there is justice for Ukraine, the justice we seek and the justice that can be achieved. That's one hell of a letter. Oh, hang on. No, it goes on. So there's a picture of Trump, which I've just skipped past because I hate him. I hate his disgusting puckered arsehole of a face. Russia will be significantly eased. Sorry, what? That doesn't make. We will not. Sorry, I missed the top line out there. We will not allow those who are trying to convince you that sanctions against Russia will be significantly eased and that support for Ukraine will be significantly reduced without any meaningful change in our position towards Ukraine to succeed. The example of Orban shows how those who choose to help Russia in this war will end in disgrace. Ukraine has endured harsh winters while you try to destroy our energy system. We have held firm, and even in darkness, the resilience of Ukrainians remained intact. We brought the war onto your territory, and you will not have been able to cope with it without North Korea's help. You're the first ruler of Russia to turn to Pyongyang for assistance. And today you are fully dependent on China, also for the first time in Russia's history. You believed Ukrainians would not have the strength to defend themselves, yet today our people are helping our partners in the Middle East and the Gulf build their own defences. You hoped for internal unrest in Ukraine. Instead, it was your own military formations that staged a mutiny against you. June 23rd will mark another anniversary of that event, and our silence will not erase that fact from history. And now it is you whom your own officials, businessmen, and propagandists look at with obvious fatigue. The world can see it. The world has grown tired of Ukraine. The world has not grown tired of Ukraine as you longed hoped it would. But there is a growing fatigue with Russia, even among those in the wider world who help you bypass sanctions and keep your economy afloat, like, I don't know, Christopher Harborn, who's a big funder of Refuck. You cannot fail to notice it. After 26 years in power, age is beginning to take its toll, and with time, the fatigue will only grow. We have seen intelligence reports showing that you are now considering plans to continue the war into 2027 and 28. We also know that you hope ballistic missiles will achieve for you what everything else has failed to achieve. You want to draw Belarus deeper into this war, and we are now forced to prepare for that as well. We see that you're trying to orchestrate something around Transnistria. Your propagandists threaten, in one way or another, every country that neighbours Russia. Do you really want to go through all this? The choice is yours now. Enough of war. Ukraine proposes an end to this war. This must be done honestly, with dignity, and with guarantees the war will not be reignited. We see that the US is fully focused on the issue of Iran, and it would be wrong to simply wait until the war in Europe returns to the centre of its attention. Ukraine proposes ending this war through direct engagement between us and you. I am proposing a meeting. Everyone has heard your representatives smiling, saying I could supposedly come to Moscow. But after these 26 years, there is nothing for a Ukrainian leader to do in your capital, just as there is nothing for a Russian leader to do in Kyiv. These are places that there are countries that have traditionally hosted leaders to resolve issues of war and peace. Switzerland, Turkey, and the countries of the Arab world, many are able and willing to host such a meeting. It is leaders who resolve the key issues. That has always been the case and always will be. I propose to set a clear date for such a meeting. We have heard that you were promised in Alaska the resolution of certain issues concerning Ukraine and Europe, but you can see for yourself that Ukrainian and European issues are not decided in Anchorage. Other agreed participants could join the bilateral track and be established between us. Since the war is taking place in Europe, and since Ukraine needs security guarantees, while you also seek security guarantees for yourself, it would be illogical to involve those who can actually genuinely serve as guarantors. We believe Europe should be part of this process, and those who truly have capacity to influence the situation. We also believe the United States must be part of the process. This is what could help shape a new security architecture for our part of the world. We have already experienced many agreements with Russia, including the Minsk agreements that ultimately failed. This is why we must find direct answers between us and the questions that remain, and not hide from difficult issues behind formulas, technical working groups, or endless time lost in shuttle diplomacy. Your war has permanently set Russia and Ukraine apart. The front line today is the line from which diplomacy must begin. Ukraine is ready for a full ceasefire for the duration of the negotiations. This is standard practice, and current developments around Iran only reinforce this point. An attempt to establish real silence is the best way to begin talking to each other. We believe that it would not be simply an attempt, but a real ceasefire, if that is what you want. You know that the United States has the capability to monitor a ceasefire along the lines where hostilities stop. Ukraine is ready for an all-for-all exchange of prisoners of war. This could become a good prologue for ending the war. Serious steps must be taken to return civilians and children who were taken away during the war. We must determine what kind of future awaits the generations of Ukrainians and Russians who will come after us. We must determine. If you do not personally come to the conclusion that it is time to end this war, Ukraine will continue fighting for its existence. we will have those who support us. But you too will have to fight much harder for your own existence, not Russia's, but your own. And this is not a threat from me or from Ukraine. It is a fact of Russian history that you know well. When Russia grows tired, change comes, and we can work toward that fatigue. You can stop your war. Eternal memory to those whose lives were taken by this war. Slava Ukraini. Glory to Ukraine. Wow. Okay, well, that's set it all out, hasn't it? That has set it all out. It is up to Vladimir Putin to actually do what needs to be done to stop this war. He won't. I think that we all know that he won't, because if he does stop the war, he'll die. So he needs to keep going, no matter what. But this is an open letter, so I'm hoping that people in Russia will read it and go, we could end this war. If it wasn't for Putin, we could end this war. We could end the economic strife, the suffering, the stigmatization of Russians all around the world. We could end that. We could end that today, if it wasn't for Putin. And that's the message of that letter. It's all, he makes it very personal. He talks about the 26 years that Putin has been in power. For half of that time, he has been at war with Ukraine. That's mind-blowing, isn't it? Half the time he's been in power, he's been at war with Ukraine. One word, statesman. And it says, your move, Pooh face. Hey, you calling me Pooh? Oh, Putin, sorry. I thought you talked to me. Sarah Puchin. Her name is Sarah Puchin, the MP from Runcorn and Helsby, the refuck MP who won by 6 votes. Her name is Puchin, as in, like, I've got poo on me chin. What's she been doing, gargling someone's fucking balls? Just horrible. Just a horrible woman. She stood up in Parliament and went, I think we should ban the burqa. Ah! And then she got up a second time in Parliament and said something equally as ridiculous. It's just a horrible, horrible woman. Privately educated, of course, because she's a refucker. Because they're for the working class, They're for the working class. A working class hero is something to be, apparently. Let's head over to the papers. Hiding her son's bloody murder weapon in the family home wasn't what any mother would do, says Jan Moore. Okay. So that's going back to that murder that was committed by the Sikh guy, the murder of Henry Novak. Can I just point out that there was a kid from Saudi Arabia who was murdered by a white guy, who just got sentenced to life in prison, minimum of 22 years yesterday. And his dad helped him. His dad helped clean the murder weapon and hide the murder weapon and clean up after the son had gone out and murdered a student who had come from Saudi Arabia. Where are the riots? Where's the accusations of two-tier policing? It's hardly being mentioned. The Daily Mail's still going on about the Henry Novak murder, because they want to, push that agenda that they have to create tension between different groups in the country, because they want civil war. They want us all to fight amongst ourselves, because that's good for business. There's a horrific picture of Andrew. I mean, most pictures of Andrew are horrific. It looks like someone has clocked him, like properly fucking thumped that bastard in the face. Maybe he fell over. I don't know, downloading child porn or whatever the fuck he does. Eugene, Paris, Beatrice and Eugene have lived in palaces rent-free for years. Does that surprise anyone? Sorry, were they supposed to pay rent? Were they supposed? I don't know why this is really a story. Is it? Is this a story? Andrew cashed in with Windsor Cottage sublets. Disgraced royal had peppercorn rent, but charged staff. So he got a peppercorn rent for the cottage in Windsor, but he sublet it. He sublet it for money. What a grubby little bastard. So that annoys me more than his daughters paying nothing for the palace homes. Well, I wouldn't expect them to. They should start now, though, because since their dads are wrong. I plan to challenge Starmer for leadership, confirmed Burnham there on the top of the Times. We talked about that yesterday during question time, which I thought Burnham did a really good job. Burnham. And actually, I was going to talk about this if we did an episode of the agenda today. I was really going to dig into this. Burnham conducted himself very, very well yesterday. He didn't go after Refuck kind of like I expected him to. Or as I expected him to. He didn't go after like I would have. Like I would have just gone after them for I would have been after blood with these fuckers. But he wasn't. He was very measured in his responses, especially when he was talking about the murder of Henry Novak and the consequences of Farage's incitement to riot on Wednesday morning. Was it Wednesday? No, it was Tuesday morning, wasn't it? It was Tuesday morning. Jesus, it's been a long week. But I understand why he's done it. He is making sure that there's fuckers out there who will vote for him. Who will go, Andy's all right. Oh, yeah, I don't like Labour, but, Andy's all right. He said, look, if there's a leadership contest, I will put my hat in the ring. He was very, frank about that. I'm not beating around the bush here. And a lot of people will vote for him because they want to get rid of Starmer. If they vote for the fucker, it's not going to get rid of Starmer any faster. In fact, Starmer's more likely to stay on as leader of Labour. So if you don't like Starmer, vote for Burnham. Refuck were cultivating Islamophobic elements of the Sikh vote. Now they've thrown them under the bus. Spent that token. Yeah, Sarah. Elle, I'm glad the dentist chair had armrests yesterday. I was holding them to stay still for them. Due to the current environment in that chair, I was having a full-on panic attack. I'm sorry to hear that, Elle, who has changed her name again. LNN no peas. LNM no peas. Sorry, Elle. I just think it's so shit. There was a Labour MP who was being interviewed, and she made a really spirited defense of trans people, which I thought was really good to see. I'll see if I can find it on here. Standing up for the trans community. It was on Politics Live, and Samantha Niblett MP. Listen, I'll see if I can find it on TikTok here. Just 1 second. Got it. Shit, I'm not logged in. I'm not logged in. Bollocks. Sorry everyone. Not logged into TikTok on this machine. Oh God. Hello. Sorry. Bum. Are you gonna let me in? Let me in, Sean. Let me in, Sean. Right, there we go. Okie doke. Sorry, I'm just logging in. Drag the slider to complete the puzzle. I'm not a robot. Fuck's sake. They sent a code to my phone number. Okay, all right. Right. Don't take it away. 79. Oh my God, it didn't appear. Why did you not appear? Oh, because I haven't got numlock on. Oh my God. This is like me being tech nan. Oh, right, okay. Here we go. Are we in? Thank you. Right. So her name is Samantha Niblett. That's a great name, isn't it? Samantha Niblett. Samantha Niblett. There we go. Okay. I don't know. How do I make this bigger? I want to make this the full screen. How can I make it full screen? Floating player. No, that's no good. That's no good. Okay, well, I'll just zoom in. I'll just zoom in. Oh no. When you zoom in, it doesn't make the screen, it doesn't make the video any bigger. It just makes the God, that's annoying. Oh well. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Honestly, it'll be worth it. I think. I hope. There we go. So you'll be able to hear it before you see it, probably. Nope, no sound. Okay, that's great. Come on, give me some sound. Give me some sound.
Samantha, where are you in terms of reaction to the Supreme Court, but also to yesterday?
I think one thing that's really interesting, when I sat in the Women Inequality Select Committee, we had the previous chair of ECHR in front of us, and she kept talking about how proportionality was really important. And what I think has not been proportionate is the fact that for 0.5% of the UK population that identify as transgender, it's felt like a little bit of a witch hunt. So I am a woman who are clearly fortunate enough to be born into a body that's biologically woman. I don't have to convince anyone every day that I am a woman. And you talk about compassion, but I have seen the most fierce anti-compassion, actually, if that's a word, directed at trans people. And one thing that's awful is in 2017, there were about 3 organisations that were anti-trans, campaigning for anti-trans rights. There are now 51. In 51. Newspapers, there are about 17 stories a day that are anti-trans. And I'm sorry, but that is not proportionate for 0.5% of the population to have so much light shine on them. Most people wouldn't even know if they were with a trans person. I can't think of a changing room I've used that's not had single space available for me to go and get changed. So my heart hurts for the trans community who have just been hoisted under a spotlight that I truly don't think they ever needed to be hoisted in underneath.
Matt? Samantha, where are you?
There you go. So that's Sarah Niblett, Labour MP. They're actually standing up for the transgender community. Obviously, we need more people, more MPs in particular, standing up. Nadia Whittome made an impassioned speech the other day in Parliament, but we need more MPs standing up for the trans community because it is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. This is a really shameful point in British history, as far as I'm concerned. Like, this is going back. It's dialing back the clock to the days when, they used to round up people for being gay and put them in jail. We're going to stop you being gay. How are you going to stop us being gay? We're going to lock you in a room with a man. Okay. We're gonna give you estrogen. That'll stop you being gay. What? We're gonna give you chemical castration. That'll stop you being gay. That'll stop you thinking gay thoughts. What? Why? What does it matter? Oh well, being gay, you might fall in love with another man and live happily ever after. Yeah. But we can't have that. Why not? Because you won't have kids. We could adopt. Well, yeah, but what about people like heterosexual couples who can't have kids or don't want to have kids? Well, what, are you going to make a law against them? No. Well, I mean, if people start having homosexual relationships, then what next? They'll want to marry the horse. They want to marry their dog. No, that's never ever going to be a thing. That's a ridiculous thing you've just said. Quite insulting, actually. Why are we going back here? Why are we going back to Section 28 that I grew up under? Now, my entire senior school years were under Section 28. It wasn't repealed until 2003, in which teachers could not talk about homosexual relationships in school, pretend it didn't happen. And yeah, just, I don't know. I just, part of me can't quite believe this is where we are in 2026. We've regressed on so many things that we should just have got sorted by now. We have, as I was saying yesterday, we have enough resources to go around. It's just a matter of political will. We have enough things we have enough weapons in our armory to fight climate change, to stop it dead. We could stop it dead tomorrow. We could make it so that, whatever damage we've already done, That's it. And some of it will get repaired by nature. But instead, no, this is what we're doing. This is the roads we're going down. Reopening coal mines, bringing back Section 28, Section 828 2.0, and obsessing over who uses the bogs like some fucking sketchy bog troll weirdo. Like, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? You know? Oh, who is sitting there having a piss, worrying about the person in the cubicle next to them having a piss? You know, if the person in the cubicle next to them fucking peers over the top of the cubicle, that's a fucking crime. Okay, there's voyeurism. It's a fucking crime. You know, call the police. Yeah. I won't go to my appointments on my own now. Doctors, dentists, opticians. I get canvas done for my passed away guinea pig. It was ready, set to go, and get it done in November. Someone with me done 2 weeks ago. Someone gets my shopping for me. I'm so sorry, Elle. This is it. Elle feels excluded from society, which is the intention of these anti-trans groups. Really interesting thing that MP said about there used to be 3 anti-trans groups, 3 transphobic groups. Now there's 51. 17 articles a day in the tabloids, in the newspapers, anti-trans articles. Like, what other group in society of like such a small number gets so much of a spotlight shined on them? And why don't we do it for privately educated people? Because they're 7% of the population, and pretty much everything that you see in the news involves them somehow. Whether it's Andrew Windsor with his face all smashed up, or whether it's Nigel Farage, or whether it's any leader of any major political party in England. Yeah. Trans people are now the person sat in the cubicle worrying about the person next to them. Yeah, good point, Gallifrey and Ren. Paula says, given how hard my generation fought for trans rights, and we did, this hurts really bad. Yeah. And I think one of the things that has upset my trans friends more than just the general transphobia has been the lack of allyship has been horrific. And Rachel talks about this a lot, and she's absolutely right. It's not just cisgender people like myself who, need to come on board and say, listen, we need to talk about this, because everyone else is ignoring it. For those who think that I talk about this too much, no one else is talking about it. Go on any other left-wing streamer, and they hardly ever mention trans rights, or the fact that trans rights are being not just eroded, but like seriously replaced with transphobic laws to try and hide transphobic people from the rest of society, in the same way that we had closeted gay people. And well, I suppose until 1967, when it was legalized, gay people developed their own language, they developed their own society within society, and that was doable because there were gay people in very powerful positions. They were closeted. They weren't out. They weren't telling everyone how much they, love getting with other guys. But they were in positions of power. One of the things with the transgender community is it doesn't have any of those levers of power that the gay community used to have. There were MPs who were gay. I mean, they weren't out, but they were there. When things got really bad, they were like, well, maybe you should legalize this, There's 650 MPs. 650 MPs in Parliament, and not a single one of them is trans. And yet 17 articles today in the newspapers about trans people. If that's not a weird obsession, I don't know what is. And it's all paid for by the oil companies. The oil companies fund 80% of the transphobic groups that have come from America and, infected our body politic over here. Are funded or part funded by the oil companies, because they want us fighting amongst ourselves, going crazy about trans people existing, and not fighting against climate change. And they want to make as much money as quickly as humanly possible. The biggest one to be invading privacy, checking people in toilets. Yeah. Well, there is a huge pedophilic tendency amongst transphobes, because they want to inspect the genitals of children. That's their ultimate goal. They want to be able to go into schools and say to little girls and little boys, drop your pants so I can check out whether I'm going to let you play this sport. And don't think that that's me being hysterical. That is actually happening in America right now. genital inspections for children to play softball, to take part in a running race, around the playground. And this is the future that the Conservatives want. These people who are, I mean, they're all busy mates with people like Jeffrey Epstein, the world's most notorious paedophile. They defend him. They go on TV and they say, well, he's not really a paedophile because he only went with teenage girls, whereas, a real paedophile goes with prepubescent girls. It's a really good look, that, going on the TV and defending paedophiles. Yeah, good luck. Yeah. That's the part that hurts the most. Trans people showed up for every other civil rights fight in living memory. Now it's our turn, and there's echoing silence for the allies we fought for. Yeah, I was going to mention that, Gallifrey, and going beyond that, saying that me as a cisgender man, but also, as part of the LGBT community, there is silence in a lot of the G. I mean, and the L as well. But surprising silence, and also hostility amongst men who are gay against trans women. And that is fucking mortifying, absolutely mortifying. It's like, what are you doing? They were there for you. Why aren't you there? Why aren't you there for them? And the news was covering last week this horrific story about a teenage girl who was raped by 3 boys who then all escaped a custodial sentence. But meanwhile, at the same time, there was a trans woman who was sentenced to 22 months in jail. 22 months and 2 years in jail because she started a relationship with a man who didn't know that she was trans. And he accused her of sexual assault because he didn't know that she was trans. Oh, he says he didn't know. What I think happened was he decided he wasn't into it, and then he turned around and said, I know I'm all for believing women, but men, not so much. And apparently they did sexual things, and then later on she revealed that she was a trans woman. Like, how? I don't understand how. But like, I just. Oh. And the thing is, what's really horrific about this is the fact that you have men raping women getting away without a custodial sentence, and then you have a story about a woman who doesn't tell a partner that they are trans because she might not have to. There might not be any evidence physically that she is trans. But then he found out. And the horrible thing about this is, like, I assume that he liked being with her up to that point. And it's like that bit in Ace Ventura, which is disgustingly transphobic at the end. It's such a shame because otherwise Ace Ventura is a really good movie. It is just absolutely fucking ruined by the transphobia element of it. But he's getting off with Sean Young, who's fucking gorgeous. And then he finds out that the character is transgender, and he's sick everywhere. Look, I'm vomiting everywhere. And I'm like, but she still looks like Sean Young. What are you talking about? She's fucking gorgeous. Why? What difference is it? I don't get it. I just do not get it. Yeah. It's like someone getting with a woman who has a padded bra on, and then they get down to it, and she takes the bra off, and her tits aren't as big as the man thought they were going to be, and then he's like, "Oh, that's it. Oh, I'm taking you to court for that." What? Well, I was expecting this, and I got that. You should have declared it. You should have said, your tits weren't that big. I'm going to take you to court. I'm going to put you in jail now. And that trans woman's been put in a man's jail, by the way. That is absolutely fucking disgusting. And plays into this bullshit idea that trans people are running around, catfishing men and capturing them and capturing their hearts and their desires. And then it's to go, ha, surprise, I'm trans. The crying game thing. And Anyway, if you're still watching this and you still haven't written to your MP, will you please write to your MP this month or today after the show? Get your writing pad out, get your notepad out on your laptop or whatever, and write to your MP. Write a letter to your MP. Get AI to do it if you don't have time, but just get in the points that you need to get in. That trans people's rights are being not just eroded, but trans people are becoming ostracized from society. And self-harm and worse amongst the trans community has doubled in the last couple of years. Doubled. I have to go feeling vulnerable. Don't normally have to bail, but struggling, says Sarah. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. Sending hugs. I'm sending hugs if you're still there. Probably because Elle says probably because they believe they are safe and trans and LGBT is holding them back. Holding them back from what, though? That's the thing. I'm not saying you're wrong, Elle. I just like holding them back from what? I don't get it. I just don't get it. But yeah. Conditioning, says Mr. Tisk. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to jump back into the papers now. Stab teens parents call for common sense policing, which is what Andy Burnham said last night. Daily Telegraph there. Andrew cashed in with secret rent deals. Then Prince paid peppercorn fee for Royal Lodge, but let out surrounding cottages. So he made loads of money out of it. Gobshite. White House rebukes number 10 over two-tier police. Go fuck yourself to unalivement. Fucking White House bullshit. Nothing to do with you. Fuck off. You haven't got a clue. Palantir could cut NHS waiting list by more than 1 million. No, it couldn't. Stop lying. Fucking Daily Telegraph there, sticking up the arse of fucking Palantir. Gobshites. Burnham, I'll fight Storm for number 10. Britain's only female commando amongst the victims of the helicopter crash. That's really tragic. The helicopter went down a couple of days ago. Trump rages at Iran grandstanders. Trump calling someone else a grandstander. Well, that's a bit fucking rich, isn't it? Fund giant blocks private withdrawals. Okay, cool. And then Marjane Satrapi, the artist and writer who created Persepolis, has died at the age of just 56 in France. It's a real shame. If you get a chance to watch the animated movie Persepolis, it's really, really good. It's about growing up under the 70s and 80s under first the Shah, and then obviously with the advent of the Islamic Revolution. Burnham, I won't flinch from the need to fix the broken social care system. Manchester Mayor sets out plans for power if he wins in Makerfield. Broad interview also discusses Brexit, bond markets, and migration. He like I said, I think he made a really good case for his election. I think he did really, really well in that question time. I think the refuck candidate did very, very, very badly because he didn't apologise to Carol Vorderman. He was accused of being a sexist pig, and he didn't really refute it in a way that he really should have done. He said that Farage was wrong for calling. Well, he sort of said Farage was wrong for calling for white hot rage or whatever he called it. Kev, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Trans peeps are brave as fuck and deserve support. Yeah. I often think about that. Like, some of trans friends out there, like, you are the bravest fucking people I've ever met. Like, to do that, to live that life, it would be easier not to. Obviously, it would be easier not to. And yet you do. And that takes an amount of bravery that is just not really seen anywhere else in society these days. I think everyone in the trans community should be given a bloody Victoria Cross for all the shit they've been put through in the last few years. But yeah, I mean, I just, it's not the easy route, is it? It's not the path of least resistance, is it? Yeah, anyway. Okay, back onto the papers. So police force data refutes anti-white bias claims. Well, obviously, because the data does not back it up at all. And Reform raises millions more than rivals. Nigel Farage's party has brought in £9 million in 3 months, largely from crypto billionaires. They've got to stop it. Labour have got to stop this. Cheeky rent deal, grand old brews of York. Kaching, Andy Windsor sports a shiner as it's revealed he's made a fortune renting out royal cottages. Oh, it's a bit of a mystery that how did he fuck his face up? We kind of, there's a part of us that kind of hopes that someone clocked him, but he probably just fell over. Top of the cop, we've got a new manager for Liverpool. Andy and PM Bird and Cash in the attic. It's Johnny Cash, who's been decomposing in someone's attic for the last 25 years. I think that's what the story is. Revealed King's private concerns over Trump's state visit to UK. We've got Kate shares in Mum's joy. So in case you forgot what the future Queen of England looks like, there she is. You only saw her yesterday on the front cover of the newspapers. FIFA sucking fans dry. Supporters anger a last-minute money grab as refillable carriers banned by tournament chiefs despite the heat threat. This is the latest one. You're not allowed to take in plastic bottles and you're not allowed to take in refillable containers full of water. Mirror here. We've got what a cheek. Ex-Prince Andrew appears with a bruise on his face. Don't forget the Good Law Project. Graham has the link. Oh, yeah, thank you very much, Saz, for the reminder there. I think the Good Law Project is in the description of the video. I'm not sure. I'll just double check that. But I'll pin it here now. If Good Law Project help us challenge the Supreme Court judgment on trans rights. So there you go. That's the support. Good Lord. Support the GLP. There you go. And then I will pin that. Yeah, that is now pinned. Not of England, sadly, future Queen. Yeah. Well, it's not just England, is it? It's not just the UK. She's also going to be the Queen of Australia, Queen of New Zealand, Queen of Fiji. Yeah, she's good. There's about 16 Commonwealth realms now where the Queen of Canada, she'll be the Queen of Canada. Back to the papers, because there's a really good one here on the Independent, which we could have got into today. Europe, the way back. 10 years on from the Brexit referendum, we remain divided over our future direction. And while the world around us has changed dramatically, today the Independent launches a campaign to build a better relationship with Europe and a more prosperous, secure and confident Britain. Yeah, that could start with us getting back into the EU. Back into the EU. Yeah, back in the USCU. No, that doesn't work. Can donate monthly to Good Law. Yeah, absolutely. I imagine it's the same for all of us. Transition was the only option that involved continued life, says Gallifrey Rent. Yeah. But there is a massive, the trans people are the bravest people I know. Genuinely. Gwyneth says, living as the opposite sex into your brain is not easy. It's like being stalked by a stranger. You look in the mirror and there's a strange man looking back at you. Yeah, I get that. The thing that is so infuriating is that the right wing deliberately and disingenuously misinterpret things to support their agenda. It is so disgusting. It is indeed. Oh, thanks very much, Saz, for the £2 super chat, which has taken us over the edge. Should we pop out the confetti? I think we should. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, confetti. Button didn't work. Sad now. That made me look like a twat, didn't it? Bloody OBS. I hadn't queued it up. Got to queue it up. Oh, SG, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Other than oil companies, another driver for trans hate is fucker Musk not being able to come to terms and love his own trans child. Yeah, Vivian. I honestly, I think she's fucking great. I follow Vivian on the different social media platforms. And he is just a pathetic little man. And she's the reason he went into politics. She's the reason he changed from being someone who genuinely seemed to want to actually improve things to someone who just wanted to destroy everything because he felt like it undermined his masculinity or something. That he had a trans daughter. What a prick. What a fucking prick. But SG, thank you so much for that. And Saz and everyone else who's chipped in this morning. This is for you. 3, 2, 1. Let me try that again. Right, press the button. 3, 2, 1. Confetti! Yes, it worked. I'm having one of those mornings. It worked. It worked. We did it. We did it. We all got there. We got there in the end. Thank Fook for that. So yeah, now we can go to the papers. The Financial Times last here. How Russia entraps teenagers to sow chaos. That could be about different things, couldn't it? That could be about the front line in Ukraine, or it could be about the motherfuckers, the bots, the big Bob bots. We've got World Cup. Stakes high for betting giants. Vancouver's science world is transforming into a 40-meter replica of a football. Okay, cool. AI revenues must surge 100-fold for SpaceX to achieve 1.78 trillion valuation. AI revenues must surge 100-fold. Yeah, it's not going to do that. I'll tell you now, it's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. You see, there's a bunch of fundamental problems with AI. First of all, it's shit. Secondly, it's shit. Thirdly, and this is the most important one, it's shit. It gets things wrong all the fucking time. Kat looked it up today. It said, she typed into Google, is 2027 the next year? And he went, no, actually 2028 is the next year, and 2027 comes after that. Yeah. $1.78 trillion worth fucking intelligence there. Yeah, artificial intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence. It's just it's just a slightly swankier predictive text. That's all it is. Predictive text, and the biggest fault line that it has is that it doesn't get everything right, and you wouldn't trust a calculator that got half the sums wrong. You'd have to check every sum, and that's what you have to do. Anything that AI comes up with, you have to manually check yourself. So what's the fucking point? It can summarize articles. That's the best thing it can do at the moment. It can go through a lot of data and point out data points. That's great. Scientists can use that. But in your everyday life, you ain't going to use that. You ain't going to use that unless you're investigating, new vaccines or cure for cancer. You're not going to use AI for that. It has very specialist uses. But aside from that, it's just not going to. And the other thing as well is there's a few different companies, isn't there? There's Anthropic with Claude. There is OpenAI with ChatGPT. There is SpaceX with Grok. And not all of those companies can win. But they're all competing against each other for what is quite a small market. Like, you think about most users of AI who use it, in their work every day, they'll pay 20 quid for that a month. 20 quid a month. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. There's not enough people who need it that badly that are going to use it to that extent. Not everyone's going to want to use AI, and people are getting fucked off with it because they put AI in everything. AI in bloody WhatsApp. What the shit is about that about? What? Why do we need? Why does my mum need AI to help her construct a message to say that dinner's ready? Do you know what I mean? Like, what? That's why I use no AI DuckDuckGo. Yeah, and then put it into Google, and it's shite. It's just absolutely shite. It does not give you the results that you need. The 1.78 trillion valuation, they need to surge 100-fold. 100-fold. I mean, no, just no. I think about the what's the ringing? Oh no, Kenya King's died. That's a bit shit, isn't it? bad news. If anyone would be the Chinese that win the AI race, like they manufacture literally everything in the world, says SG. Yeah. And it's not just. I mean, look, it has its uses. I will not disagree with that, but it's not worth that much. It can't be. Those sums do not add up. And for someone to look at this and go, well, it's gonna grow 100-fold in the next couple of years. I'm like, how? Show me. Walk me through that process. AI is basically data mining, and data mining never got everything right either, says Miss Paula Thomas. Yeah. I know, you're right. I realised that I should have set another goal, shouldn't I? So I'll do that. Oh no, hang on. No. Oh shit, it's done now. I was going to change it to Boba Fetty. But what I'll do is, because SG needs to be included and Miss Paula Thomas, if we get 3 more super chats, but before the end of the show in 15 minutes time, we will get some Boba Fetty, promise you. I even got AI at the bottom of my cornflakes this morning. You get like a free packet of AI in every pack of cornflakes. Yeah. I use local AI for what I do. Yeah, I mean, look, like I say, it does have its uses, but I'm trying to think about the sums here. For instance, the United Kingdom, right? So what we got? 68 million people here. How many are working for maybe 40 million? Okay, so you got 40 million people, and if every single one of them spent 20 quid a month, 120 quid, 240 quid a year on this stuff, and don't forget, some of this stuff is loss leading. You know, these companies are losing money. There's they had to stop Sora because it was just fucking useless. It was just burning loads of energy creating these fucking videos, and people would create 100 of them before they got one that actually fucking looked like they wanted it to look like. And that was all processing power that was just used to make pointless fucking videos. Great, they lost loads of money on it. So even if that 240 quid was pure profit that you're getting off someone a year, even if it was pure profit, which it isn't. So, I mean, you're probably getting like 40 quid off each person. And even if there were 40 million people buying that, that's not much. You know, a trillion is a million million. A million million. You know, I did. I'll just Badoo. So we got 40 million people. Let's be generous. Let's say that they'll give 100. They'll spend £100 a year on AI. That's 4 billion from one of the richest and one of the biggest countries in the world. I know there's massive countries, but of the middle-sized countries, are one of the biggest of the middle-sized countries. So that's if everyone who was working was using your AI, right? All 40 million people were using your AI, and you were making about 100 quid worth of profit a year. So they're paying 240 quid, costs 140 to run the fucking servers and the systems per person for what they do, making the shit videos or whatever it is. That's 4 billion. You need another you need another 998 billion to make a trillion. And they're talking about a valuation of 1.7 trillion. 1.78 actually, it's nearly 1.8 trillion. Somebody make the math for me. Someone make the sums add up. I can't see it. I'm squinting really hard here, going, how does this business work? But it's not business. It's a meme stock. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's a fucking meme stock, just like Tesla. Blah blah CW, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Posted a template letter to MPs on the Discord. Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you. AI is very good at haikus. Well, exactly, Cuthbert. I mean, it's like, you know, trying to do something practical with it. But yeah, doing daft shit with it, great. But are you going to pay more than 20 quid a month for it? Unless you're using it for some kind of mad purpose. But then because there's multiple companies all competing against each other to have the best AI, right? You can have winners and losers in that. So that's 4 billion. If everyone 4 billion of profit from the United Kingdom, if everyone gets onto one particular AI and uses that system and none of the others, no one signs up to any of the other systems. Ryan Burke, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. It's very, very kind of you. Oh, people are being lovely this morning. Thank you. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. We're going to go back to the papers just for a moment. Back to the FT. Starmer rebukes Musk for trying to whip up division over Novak murder, which is totally what he did because he's a scumbag. Standards body vows to fix heat pump fitting debacle. Public confidence in the installation of heat pumps, key to the government's energy transition plan, is being dented by the increasing number of botched jobs by cowboy tradesmen. Renewable Heating Hub, an online forum, says post by its 7,000 members shows an installer quality complaints rose 24-fold in 3 years. Bloody hell, that's not good, is it? There needs to be government standards for this kind of thing. And if someone fucks up things so badly, that's it. They're just banned from installing heat pumps. That's it. Find something else to install. You're not doing heat pumps anymore. Then we've got the briefing here. Harborne hands Farage Reform UK another £3 million. So he's given an extra 3 million on top of the millions. There's 22 million plus the 50, so 30 million I think he's given to Farage and to Refuck in the last few years. Greensill given another 9-year ban. Lex Greensill, the once influential financier behind the collapsed lending firm Greensill Capital, has been banned by the insolvency service from acting as a company director for 9 years. He should be in jail. Blackstone limits exits. The largest private investment group has restricted withdrawals from its flagship private credit funds. Oh! The first time as requests for redemption surged to 4.5 billion in the second quarter. Okay, so Blackstone is one of the biggest companies in the world, and it doesn't actually own anything. All it does is facilitate the buying of stocks. And the way it works is that it has a basket of stocks from all different companies in different stock exchanges around the world. And instead of relying, putting all its chips into Coca-Cola or just one company, it puts its chips, it spreads them across, right? And because, generally speaking, a spread bet on the stock markets goes up over time, goes down, temporarily, but generally goes up over time. It's yielded these massive amounts of money, but it's in the past it's traded in stock that was established, like Coca-Cola, like Mercedes-Benz, like fucking, I don't know, Apple, right? What's going to happen here is that when the initial public offerings of SpaceX and Anthropic and OpenAI happen, what the result is going to be is, because they've done a dodgy deal with the NASDAQ, instead of there being a 6-month wait to make sure that the stocks aren't overvalued when they're first put in, before these investment vehicles that buy stocks across everything. So you've got Blackstone, but also you've got pension funds which automatically buy in to new stocks after 6 months. So you have 6 months, so you get the stability, because they always start dead high or a bit too low or whatever, and then eventually they'll get to the line, right? And then at 6 months in, these companies that automatically buy shares in certain companies across the FT 100, the FTSE 100, or the NASDAQ, or the Dow Jones, whatever index they're using, or indices they're using, that they'll automatically buy shares in it. And it's usually 6 months, right? 6 month wait. What the dodgy deal they've done is that as soon as this IPO happens, they are going to get the buy-in from BlackRock and these pension companies, and this is very telling. Blackstone has found redemptions surging to $4.5 billion because people are looking at this going, no, I don't want to be a part of this. No, I'm taking my money out. That's it. I'm taking my money out, to such an extent that Blackstone have had to, as it says here on the front cover of the Financial Times, they've had to restrict withdrawals. No, you're keeping our money with us, and it's going to go into SpaceX, and you're not going to get any say in it. I mean, this is gearing up for one of the biggest financial disasters in human history. Hey, listen, I'm not an economist. I don't fucking know. I don't even think being an economist is a thing. I think it's like, I think it's like being a DJ. It's just something that people can say if they like, changing records. Hey, I like taking this record off and putting another one on. Yeah, I'm a DJ. It's a job. Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to have a dig at DJs, but you're at a nice house party, you're having a laugh, and then some dickhead turns up the fucking decks and starts playing music too loud for anyone to hear, and everyone goes out of the living room, and everyone's crammed into the kitchen, trying to continue the conversation they were having. Well, sorry, don't know why I went off on one about DJs. It's just anyone. I don't see DJing as a particular amazing skill for a lot of DJs. Okay, I know there are professional DJs who are really, really good at what they do, are really excellent at what they do. I'm not talking about them. Okay, I'm talking about your mate who turns up with a couple of decks at your house party, and you're like, "What are you doing here? What have you bought these for?" It's all right. I've got a stereo. It's all right. I've got an iPod shuffle. Don't worry. The goo is censoring my chat again. I'm sorry about the goo. Andrew Ray. New footage obtained by CNN appears to show that a fire on board the USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, caused far more damage than the Trump administration publicly acknowledged. SG said, "I seriously thought we were going to lose the ship." One sailor on board told CNN, described how he felt when fighting the fire. It's either fight or die. Wow. Miss Ellsby, I knew I've upset someone. So I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. It's a lot more to it than that. Yes. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Sorry, I'm just feeling a little bit mischievous this morning. I've had some falling outs with DJs over the years. Don't get me started on people on mixing desks. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. They're lovely people, especially when they give me the set list for the gig. But yes, hi G says L. Hello. Is that me? Is that a different G? Announcement Diz on the Politics Social server. That's good. Co-pilot HiQ about Graham Hughes. Miles fold beneath him. But borders bow to his stubborn will. One man, every land. Oh, thanks for that, Cuthbert. My little haiku there for the morning. And sending love out to Gina as well in the chat. So back to the Financial Times. So did I explain? I don't know if I explained that very well, but basically, I was saying about not a job, economist, not a job. I don't think that being because they you see with the reason why I brought up DJs is because for a lot of DJs, right, you could just replace them with an iPod shuffle and no one would notice, right? You just get your mate to stand behind a couple of decks and pretend to be mixing. And all you do is you put your iPod shuffle onto that setting. That means that one song fades into another. And give your mate the permission to just jog on a song if no one's dancing. It's very important because a lot of DJs are like, yeah, no one's dancing to this song. Yeah, I'm going to just leave it on because I like this song. Yeah, the dance floor's empty. Woo, let's keep that mood going. The empty dance floor. Yeah. They don't think, oh, well, no one's dancing to this. I'll cut the song at this point. But yeah, economists. There's a Nobel Prize for being an economist. I mean, come on, fuck off. Like seriously, like that shouldn't be a prize for doing what? They did this where like the iPod Shuffle, right? They did random investments in stocks and shares and stuff, and then they got the world's top economists to decide which shares they should invest in, and the top economists of the world did no better than just it being chosen at random. The only reason why the Nobel Prize for economics exists, it wasn't something that should exist because Alfred Nobel didn't add that as a prize. It didn't exist until the 1960s. And it was a bank, a Swedish bank paid for there to be that prize. They paid for a new prize to give to bankers to go, well done on banking. Well done on gambling with other people's money. Yeah. Yes. Liebchen, good morning, everyone, and how are we today? It's my 54th birthday today, as well as my 28th wedding anniversary, but still feeling meh because of the weather. Well, listen, Liebchen, this is for you. If you're feeling meh, happy birthday! Birthday confetti! Also, wedding anniversary. Wedding anniversary confetti. Can't argue with that. That's all. You don't go to the right nights, Graham. I'm not talking about well, look, there's two types of professional DJs, isn't there? Come on, there's the ones who work at clubs and like get everyone on the dance floor and make it all boss, right? And then there's the ones who do like weddings and stuff. Yeah, they're the ones I'm talking about. They're the ones I'm talking about. But yeah, sorry, I don't mean to piss people off. Economists are a bit like DJs, aren't they? Shit wedding DJs, okay? Let me be very clear on this. Economists are a bit like shit wedding DJs. They could be replaced by an iPod shuffle. There you go. And no one would notice. No one would notice the difference. That's my point. Not a professional DJ who works in a club. That's completely different. That's a different kettle of fish. Sorry, Eddie. Sorry, anyone that I'm upsetting. Sorry, Miss Elsby. Okay, so I'm going to head back to the papers now and try not to alienate any other people in my audience. And next up, we got sublets at Windsor Home, which we covered in the other newspapers. Broadcom spreads rout. The chip giant has shed $300 billion in one of Wall Street's biggest ever single-day drops in market value after its AI revenue projection fell short of bullish forecasts. $300 billion. $300 billion. That is just under one third of a trillion. Gone. Disappeared. Evaporated into the ether. Why? Because their predictions for AI were too bullish. But is God a DJ? Yes, because God could be replaced by a iPod shuffle. Oh my God! Yes, I've just made this realization. I made this connection. Right? Essentially, evolution is an iPod shuffle with a little bit of self-preservation in it. An iPod shuffle that has learned to change the song if no one's coming onto the dance floor. If nobody's dancing, it changes the song. That, my friends, is evolution. Yes, God could be replaced by an iPod shuffle that could sense that something was going wrong and it needed to change the song, because that's evolution. Can't fuck if you're dead. Yes, so God is a DJ. Just as fucking useless as a shit wedding DJ. Sorry, not professional DJs who working. That's different. That's different. Leave Fatboy Slim alone, Graham. Even though he went to private school. He went to the same school as Keir Starmer, actually. But there you go. Lipchin says, thanks, guys. I'm going to see the new He-Man movie this morning. Movie in 4D. How is it 4D? Is that one of those where they spray water at you when you're watching the film? No, God is an economist. Shropshire Chris says, yes, Graham. There's a famous story about this great craftsman who created when you've got it's called an orrery or something. Is that the word for it? It's when you have a model of the solar system and it's got the brass rings on it, and you've got the planets on the brass rings, and you've got the sun in the middle, and it moves. It's called an orrery. I'm gonna look this up. I think it's called an orrery. Orrery. An orrery is a mechanical model of the solar system that demonstrates the relative positions and orbital motions of the planets and moons around the sun. Yes. So, great craftsman back in the Napoleonic era made this amazing orrery for Napoleon. And the story goes that Napoleon said, "This is amazing. It's all moving by itself, like the entrance, the opening sequence to Game of Thrones. So it's all moving around, right? And Napoleon asks, "Well, where's God? Where's God in this?" and the mathematician, the craftsman says to Napoleon, God is not necessary for the model to work. Just saying. Gallifreyan Vent sent my MP email off. Good stuff. I've been dragging my heels until the templates were made. As a result, my personal interjections are less volcanic than when I first drafted it. That's fair enough, Gallifreyan Vent, but thank you for doing that. And I'm sorry you have to do that. I'm sorry that this is the fucking 2026 on the shit Biff timeline. But there you go. But yeah, today I can see new life starting. Second cataract removed yesterday. No more glasses for distance. Oh, that's fantastic, Andrew Ray. Great news. Great news, my friend. Great news. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the papers because we haven't quite finished. We've got a few more stories here. We've got NATO cutback upsets allies. European allies are seeking clarification from Washington on plans to remove military assets from NATO's rapid response force. Law firm enlists Palantir. Kirkland and Ellis have agreed a multi-year deal with Palantir to develop AI technology to help it advise private equity groups on raising money from investors such as pension funds. Or you could just buy a load of iPod shuffles. AFD fosters Moscow links. A senior Alternative for Germany official has met Gazprom's boss and another confidant of Vladimir Putin in some of the highest level meetings since the full invasion of Ukraine. So the Soviets teaming up with Nazis to fight people in Ukraine who live under a democratic rule. Gallifreyan Van says, even without molten fury dripping from the page, it's still a decent piece of emotive writing, I think, tempered by coherent points. Well, good. I'm glad you got that done, Gallifreyan Van. And for anyone else who wants to have a look at that, if you get over to the Politics Social Discord server, apparently there is a template on there, which is groovy. Right, I'm going to go to have something to eat because I'm bloody starving. And it's 7 minutes past 11, which is beyond my breakfast time. So I'm going to go off, stuff something in my face, and then at 1 o'clock today, we're not doing the agenda because Phil can't do it, so we'll do that on Monday. But if you want to join me, we will write some wrongs. We will write some wrongs this afternoon. It should be exciting, and I'll be working on chapter 5. I've done a chapter a week. I've done a chapter a day so far this week. I've written 9,700 words. Obviously, it will need to be edited in the future. I'm not very happy with the start of it. The very first paragraph needs to be sorted out because at the moment it just goes, oh yeah, we were there and then we went here. That's not a great way to start a book, but I'll work on that. But yes, so 1 o'clock today, if you want to join me, it's ASMR. Okay, warning, ASMR warning. It is not something where I'm particularly talking to the screen a lot. I'm looking things up in books, and there's a lot of me sitting here, literally getting a book and just going like this through the pages. There's a lot of taking a sentence and then reordering where the words are in the sentence and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, don't expect it to be a scintillating and engaging few hours of your life. But if you do want to join me for the writing process, it's helping me getting it written. I know there's people in the chat as well who are also writing when I'm writing, which is good. And a little eye opener into the process of getting stuff written, getting a book written. So we're 4 chapters in now, and probably another 40 to go. But what I'm probably going to do is push some of the chapters together and just have chapter break, not a chapter break, but just page breaks between the different sections, rather than have a new chapter every 3 pages, which is a bit annoying when you're reading the book. Because I like to get to the end of the chapter, before I go to sleep. So the chapters need to be a good size for me to get to the end of the chapter and then I go to sleep. It was the best of times. It was the Call Me Ishmael, and the clocks were striking 13. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the super chat. I do have to do this before I go because I did promise Boba Fetty. So here you go. Boba Fetty. Yeah, I've been taken over by Boba Fett. I'm Boba Fett. He's no good to me, Dad. Hello. I've been dubbed over by a Kiwi. What happened? I don't know. I've been dubbed over by a Kiwi. Yeah, thanks very much for watching. and take care of yourselves. Have a good time today. If you get a chance, please write to your MP. I'll try and do a show tonight, if possible. Might not be able to. We are planning to have pizza and watch Hoppers, the new Pixar movie, which is now on Disney Plus, with the kids. And so we will see. We will see. Maybe I'll just do a little quick show later on tonight after Aid and our friend Maximilian have vacated the internet, vacated the YouTubes. We might do a little thing for a laugh. Okay, so watch out for that. If you aren't already, give this video a like before you go. We definitely need a like. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. If you are, bell notification icon, so I'll let you know when shit is going down. When shit is going down. And until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.